All right. Three, two, one.
Say
Say
what?
what? Welcome to episode number 3 of the Black Millennial Podcast, where we bring you love, joy, laughter when we talk about social topics that affect us as young people. I'm your host, Michael, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Caleb. How
I'm
you doing,
good,
Caleb?
man. I'm good. And a good energy today. How you doing, bro?
I am doing
That's good.
amazing. And my other co-host, Million, aka Young Millie. How you doing,
I'm doing
Million?
good today. It's a good day. So yeah.
All right. All right. So we're going to play a quick game. We're going to start off with an icebreaker. And I'm going to start with you, Caleb. Caleb, real fast. Two truths and one lie.
I'm rich. I'm 5'3", and I play basketball.
I definitely do not think you're rich.
That's
the
definitely the
lie.
one right there. That is definitely the one right
That's the
there.
lie.
What about you, Million? You better be rich with a name like that.
Quick. Okay, so I have a male cat. I prefer coffee over tea. And my favorite color is gray.
I do not think you prefer coffee over tea, you said?
Yeah,
I don't think that's the truth.
that is the lie. Yeah, that is the lie.
Yep. There is no way you would love coffee over tea. As a tea fanatic myself. All right. And now for me, two truths and one lie. Let's see. I was born in Kosovo. Um, I speak 5 languages, and I play the tuba and trombone.
mm. You don't speak 5 languages.
What about you, Million? What do you think?
um, I want to go with the 5 languages, but I also want to go with the first one. You did say you did play. Did you say you played tuba in the last episode? Jesus
I
Christ, I
don't
can't
know.
remember. I'm gonna have to go with the first one.
The first one, ladies and gentlemen on the line, only Million knows me. Yes, I was born in Kenya.
Yep. See.
That is the lie. I was not
Oh,
born in Kosovo.
wait. So you know 5 languages?
Yes, well, I'd say 6.5 because I'm learning Spanish and Arabic at the moment. But what do I say?
That's what's up. Yeah. Hey, shout
Nice.
out to you. Shout out to Mike, man.
Yeah, that's
All
amazing.
right. So for today's topic, we're going to be talking about interracial dating. Let me say that one more time for people who didn't hear me clearly the first time. Interracial dating. Folks, when I say interracial dating, what do you guys understand? What comes to mind the first time you hear that interracial dating?
It's pretty simple. It's just dating between two people who are of different races. It's simple
Mm-hmm.
concept, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
does it mean anything more to you?
Um, I don't think it means anything more. No, it's just that simple. It can entail something a bit deeper, but surface level, that's just what it is.
That's true. What about you, Caleb?
Yeah, just to rub right off of what Million said, surface level, that's really what it is. Two different people of a different race dating each other.
Mm,
Um, once we start to pick below the surface, go a little deeper into what it really is and what it involves, I think it involves culture and history, and that's where
yes.
that's where the heat comes in, you know?
Yes. That's usually the problem because, I mean, as much as interracial dating in our current climate is acceptable, but at the same time, if you look at it, there are certain aspects that are not. It always comes down to, are you willing to accept the cultures of this other race that you're dating? Are you willing to accept their traditional practices? Are you willing to accept their way of life? Are you willing to accept how they raise their children? Are you willing to accept, how they worship? If at all it's a community that had, or a race that has their own worship structure. There's a lot that goes into interracial dating, but
Right.
on a surface level, it's exactly what Million said. It's dating between cultures. And now that leads me to my question. Would you date someone from another race, honestly speaking?
I have.
You have?
I have.
So definitely you would.
Yeah, I would. I would. I would. I have and I would.
Oh, what about you, Million? Would
Um,
you?
I would for sure. I
You
would.
would? Have you?
I have not. I'm still
Oh
young,
man,
so I have not.
you're
But
missing out.
yeah, no, I haven't had that experience yet. What about you?
I would date someone from an opposite or from a different race. Have I? I have, but I will speak to that after Caleb tells us about his experience. Caleb, what was your experience with interracial dating? And if you could, please also tell us what race he or she was from. Yeah, tell us what you liked about the culture, what you didn't like, and how the experience was essentially for you.
Well, yeah, she was Puerto Rican, I'm Puerto Rican myself. My mom
Mm-hmm.
was Puerto Rican and Dominican. So although I consider it as like interracial,
Mm-hmm.
I was still of that same, I share that same Puerto Rican culture. Um, but it's a different way of life in any culture, Puerto Rican, Mexican, any race that you are. It's a different way of life, and it goes back to what you said about you know being able to accept what the other person does. And in relationships, you learn to accept what the other person does and sacrifice and adapt.
Mm.
I think what gets in the way sometimes is like beliefs, like stand on beliefs. Like there's certain levels to certain things, and if we don't feel the same way, meaning me and my partner, that causes friction. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like sometimes it has racial matters that go into it. We all have opinions on Black Lives Matter, and sad to say, but every race has different opinions on it, which influences the younger girls in their family to view it as they view it. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it makes it hard for us, because we just like women. I like women no matter what race she is. Indian, Korean,
Mm-hmm.
Latin, Black. I like women. I love women. So
At the end of the day, that shouldn't matter. Their race should never matter, should it?
no, we all bleed the same blood.
Uh-huh. And you mentioned that your is she your current girlfriend, if I may ask?
No, 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 no.
All right. So you mentioned your ex was Puerto Rican, and you're Puerto Rican as well, or rather part of you,
Yeah,
since
yeah.
you're biracial, right?
Mhm.
Have you dated anybody who's from a completely different race? Like, let's say, an Asian, for example.
I have, but I can't really consider those real.
Why?
Because we gotta dig into like real relationships. There are
True, true,
high
true.
schoolers, even some middle schoolers out there listening to this, and
Mm,
a relationship is not really real at that time. When you be around the other person's family, you meet their family, um, stuff like that. Really know what their value is. That's real.
uh-huh.
Like I've had a couple Asian girls and other girls that I've dated, but it wasn't real. I didn't go meet their dad. I didn't go in their house and meet their family. It was just it was a quick date, young date.
All right. Then I would, in my case, then I'd say I've only had one interracial relationship. Then, um, before your answer, I'd have said I had maybe three, but two of them started off with the idea that we're gonna be serious about this, and then we fell apart along the way. But it was never due to the race. So one of them was a Persian girl. We sort of dated for about 3 months, and then the other one was an on and off thing with an Italian girl, um, which would have been something, but then hey, COVID happened,
Like that.
But just like that. But then the one that actually happened was sometime back. I think it was a year and a half or something. I did end up in a relationship with an Indian girl, most beautiful girl you can ever think about. But then there were so many intricacies to it. There were so many trials and tribulations in the relationship because her family was very traditional, and as much as she was, my age and she was in the new generation, I'd call it, um, there were those barriers where she wants to please me and she wants to please her family, and she got to the point where now those two things are clashing. How do you stay in a relationship with someone who's from a different race when your family wants you to get into a marriage with an Indian guy or someone from your similar race? And I'm pretty sure she's not the only girl who's gone through this. I'm pretty sure there are other people who've been through relationships like this, where they've been forced to choose between maintaining family values or being in that relationship with the person you love. And eventually for us it never worked out, and I wonder how many more didn't work out around the world, because at the end of the day, it's a clash, as you guys mentioned earlier on. It's a clash of cultures, and you tend to think about, what about these families that have all these traditional beliefs? How do you convince them that, hey, it's okay, it's okay to cross this lines of races and allow your families to mingle? I don't know what you guys think about that proposition where people are forced to choose between a generation gap between them. I'll start with you.
With me, that's something that I understand. I want to understand. I don't understand, but I want to understand. Any girls are listening to this and you see me in public, pull me to the side, holler at me real quick, and give me your perspective, because I do want to. I don't understand how. It's never been like that for me. My grandpa, my dad, my family, get what you want. You know what I'm saying? It's never been. I had to stick to one thing. So like, I just want to understand why it's like that. Why it continues. Why does it continue to be like that? I like to say change the narrative. So change the narrative. It doesn't have to be like that forever. Just switch it up a little bit. That's just my opinion.
You brought up a very interesting point. I'll touch up on it. Million, what do you think?
Don't look at me. It's I don't know much about interracial relationships. I've never been in one, and I don't know what the future entails for me yet. So I don't.
To all the ladies listening to this podcast right now, if you are not an African American girl, I've got Million Renault for you, and his name is Young Millie as well, and he's single, and he's looking to be in an interracial relationship. He's tall, dark, and handsome.
Thank you.
Reach out to me and I will connect.
Thank you so much for that. But no, I like Caleb was saying, I do want to know more about why there is still this little sort of stigma with interracial dating that has passed over generation to generation, and why haven't it is starting to get that stigma is starting to get a bit broken, but why hasn't it been broken a bit earlier, and why is it still carry on today? That's still a question I kind of want to touch on.
Let's answer that using a point Caleb brought earlier on, where he said his parents would allow him to date interracially, and they wouldn't even have an issue with it. They'd be like, go for what you want. But then we are men. You get where I'm going with this? We are men. I think it's a different experience for women, at least from stories I've heard about interracial dating, where the lady's dad wants this and the lady's mom wants this, and so the guy's family is left alone. Do you think that men and women go through a different experience when it comes to interracial dating? Do you think there's that disconnect between the two genders?
I do think that there is some form of difference. There will always be some form of difference because, like, people think of men and women differently all the time. And when it
Mhm.
comes to interracial relationships, especially in the Black community, you'll notice that a lot of parents will allow, the male to sort of branch off, and they don't care much about who they date. When in like when it's comes to a woman, they sort of like to not gatekeep. They sort of like to monitor. Parents sort of like to monitor who their child is dating, and if it's like a Black woman, they would want their child. They don't want their daughter to date a Black man. And the thing is, it goes the same way for a lot of Black men as well. So it's hard to say whether or not it's like a it's not very black and white, the divide between men and women and interracial
Mhm.
relationships. There it's not really black and white. It's a little bit more complicated. Some people are more lenient, some people aren't. And it all comes down to the family, and like we said before, the generational bridge. That's what it all comes
Mhm.
down to when it comes to the divide between men and women and dating interracially.
So you don't think that it's more of a gender-based issue, it's more of a generational issue?
Yes.
Okay, okay, that's an interesting point. I think it's both, actually. I think because of the expectations of roles that we have within different cultures of the man and the woman, where the man is the one to branch out and seek, and the lady is to be given, at least in most cultures that I've known. For the African culture, it's the same. The lady is the one being given. I think the only difference is with Asian cultures where it's the man being given. But for all these other cultures where it's the lady being given, there's a lot of ownership towards the lady's choices, where everybody thinks they have a say in what happens to the lady, which family she joins, and it's mostly about um, people not wanting to have a mixture of blood for I don't know what reason,
I
you
mean,
know?
yeah, I guess it's just pure breed. They you wanna. I've heard that saying before. That they were taught to just like the I don't want to say stigma. I don't know the right word, but what they were taught in house is kind of just keep the breed 100%. Keep it a
Mm-hmm,
full 100%. Whatever you are, make it 100% breed.
mm-hmm,
That's what was taught from the old days, and that virus that was given to those same young ladies, um, it's a virus, and it's being passed down. So we're just talking it out, trying to get what is it called? What are we looking for right now? A vaccine.
a vaccine. Yeah, we actually need to. We've seen how this virus, we've seen it even in a couple of films, like the Harry Potter series, this virus of pure blood versus mad blood, you know, how it eventually leads to chaos. And I think that's the basis of a lot of wars, a lot of, conflicts that we have, because we want to separate ourselves and be like, oh, this is us. We are this solid brand that has not been interfered with. But at the same time, is it really interference if you mix up and get best of both worlds? I'm not saying that all relationships should be interracial, but I don't think it should be a topic of discussion, really. You
I don't think
know.
See,
it should be talked down upon.
Mm-hmm.
Talked down upon. Oh, yes, it should be a discussion, but I don't think it should be talked down upon.
Oh no, what I mean by it should not be a discussion is it should not be a question of should we have interracial marriages. That kind of question should be like, should we eat?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah, I agree.
You know?
I would have to go a little bit even deeper because
Uh-huh.
this is a subject I like to talk to with my friends like a lot. But when it comes to interrelational relationships, it can be good. It can be good. It can be very progressive, but at the same time, it can also be regressive because when it could be I just forgot the word, but let's just say you're a white man and you constantly date black women. It's in a relationship, sure, and that's okay, but if it's a constant black woman, like if that's what you prefer constantly, then it becomes more of a fetish, and that's where the fetishization of races comes in, and it's that's a little bit more of a touchier subject when it comes to interrelational relationships, but
True.
it does happen a lot. A lot of interrelational relationships are are rooted in fetishes, which you could also say is rooted in racism, and that it's very toxic. And some people need to get out of. Some people don't know how to get out of that mindset, but I think we should, because, like you said before, interrelationships is it's a good thing, right? It is. It should be a conversation, but at the same time, it shouldn't be looked down upon, unless there are these people who are using man, I'm really trying to figure out how to phrase this because it's so hard to try to talk about this, but people will
Take your time.
use the word preference. That's what I'm talking. People will use the preference to
Yes.
sort of say that like, okay, you have a black man, right? A black man would you say it's my preference to date a white woman or an Asian woman because da 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 da, and that da 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 is usually because black women are loud, because black women are too thick, black women are just ghetto even, and that people have to get out of that. Okay, people have to get out of that dating one race because you think these other races aren't as good, and that is something that comes to interracial dating. That's something that people have to get out of, and you may not see it on the surface, but if you like really talk to some of these people about their interracial relationships, you can really start to see who these person are and really dive deep if they actually like love the person. I mean, I'm not gonna say they don't love the person, but if you dive deep into someone's interracial relationship, you can find out if it's rooted in them wanting to be with a specific certain type of woman or man, or if it's just like I'm gonna date whoever I want.
Is it lust or love? That's a very beautiful point that you brought up. Thank you so much for that. And this is not the first time I've heard someone say that. I had a Latina friend of mine ask me once whether I would date a Latina girl, and I said yes. And then her follow-up question was, would I marry a Latina girl? And before I said yes, I had a slight hesitation, which she noticed, and she touched upon this, and she said, we've been so rooted in the media and stuff, and with the media I mean stuff like film, stuff like songs, and even porn, where we have this certain ideals about different races, just like you mentioned, where when we think about Latin women, we just think of them as these sex tools, or this beauties that we should sleep with, which is wrong. That is why I think that was the root of her asking me that question: would I marry one? Where do we stop thinking about women or even men from different races as tools for satisfaction, but as people who, at the end of the day, just wants to be loved and be with someone,
I like what you said about them being tools for satisfaction. I love that.
Okay, Caleb, what do you think?
Can you clarify your question a little bit?
Yeah.
Piggyback off of what you said. Actually, I want to pose a question to you. Actually, and it might be to your friend. Actually, what do you mean when you say like, are you saying Latin women are sexual toys? Like, what do you?
Oh, okay, okay.
I just want to understand.
Yes. So
And I
what
know
she
you're not saying
meant?
Latin women are sexual toys. Like,
No, 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 no.
I just want to
Well,
understand what you said by that. By
no.
that.
So what I meant was that the media has a lot of times spoken about Latin women as this feisty, spicy, sexy women. Whenever we see a Latin woman on film,
Hmm.
either in most cases, they're the pretty girl who someone is chasing after and they want to sleep with so badly, or they're the maid. There are those soap opera, I'll call them soap opera vibes that almost every character that is from a Latin country has been given. And I think that is what informs us about, such races. And that is what she was going against, where you would only think of dating them for satisfaction. But then when it now becomes is something serious like marriage, oh, you start backing off, and that was her bone of contention. Does that answer you properly?
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. That makes a lot more sense. And I feel like that that what she's saying is true. Like that happens with a lot of Latin girls. And I think even like with us as men, we still have that. Like kind of how you said, when she asked if you would marry, you had a slight hesitation. You know what I'm saying? That's something that we have to think about ourselves, and I think it's something
Mm-hmm.
to think about ourselves. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but why did you have a slight hesitation?
I didn't think about it that much. I never thought, because I always say that, hey, I would marry anyone as long as I love them.
Right.
But somehow that question made me hesitate. I don't know why. Uh, I know I am not biased whatsoever. I have a lot of lovely Latina friends who I'm really good friends with. Um, but would I date one? Yes. Would I marry one? Absolutely. For me, it's not about the race or their culture. Well, the culture does count, but it's never about the race. It's always about how you make me feel. I guess I just didn't expect that question. That's why. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sort of, I would say that sort of hesitation come from years of conditioning, like especially
Mm-hmm.
like we're going back to what how generations work. Your parents are, if you're like, especially in colored communities, if your parents are POC, they're gonna push you dating someone that is of your race. They're going to
True.
do that, and it's like that's where that sort of hesitation come from. Where if would you date someone of another? I mean, would you marry someone of another race? Because it's just been pushed on you your whole life that you should date someone who's looks exactly like you. You know.
Mm-hmm. And also just to add on to that, I didn't want I don't want whoever I'm dating or I don't want whoever I'm with to feel like they're a token or like a trophy, where especially for cultures like ours, if you go back home with, a white girl or, someone who's not of this complexion or a little lighter than this, someone who's way lighter than my complexion, it's considered somehow that you've now become successful. They are tool of success. They're basically a trophy. And so sometimes I hesitate with that because I don't want anybody to feel like they're an achievement. I mean, it is an achievement, but then I don't want it to seem like it's a prize. You need to feel like a human in any relationship. you know
Yeah. Yeah, I would
yeah.
agree with you there. You said it all, hit them all on the points
Mhm.
right there.
Yeah.
Well, this leads us more into into our next segment is, we get our ideas from movies, films, we're listening to people's story, and media has been very, um, I'd say, paramount in our understanding of interracial dating and, seeing different cultures. What do you think media makers, filmmakers, photographers, musicians can do to spread a better picture of interracial dating and not make it such an issue? I'll start with you, Caleb.
I'm gonna let Million. I'm gonna deflect that question.
If
All right, Million, the boat is in your hands.
if I'm being honest, it's gonna take a while for people to start sort of. Well, it hasn't. It's already taken form already, showing that interracial dating is a okay thing to do. But it's in a lot of communities, especially POC communities. It's still sort of. It's still like you should date person of your race. But in terms of media, how can we change that through media, movies, and stuff like that? I wouldn't know, to be honest. If like you have a movie with two people who fall in love, yeah, if you have a movie with two people who fall in love, it's like one is black and one is Asian. That is a good way to show it, but at the same time, it's not a good way. It's a good way to show it, but it's not a weird way to show it. I'm trying to. It's a decent. It's not a good way to show it. It's a decent way to show it. I think we can do better ways of showing that, you can date whoever you like and still like love them for them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But yeah, these directors and all that stuff, it comes off as just like a normal thing, which is perfectly fine, and it's not stressed enough. I don't believe it's stressed enough. I think I know what they're doing. They're not trying to stress it. They're trying to make it like a normal thing in society. But when it comes to stuff like that, you kind of have to stress it out and say like, this is okay. And I know it's hard for people of different religions, especially religions, to, sort of listen to these people and be like, oh, interracial dating is okay. But,
Mhm.
it's I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, but it's okay. It's a weird, touchy thing when it comes to movies and shows and that. It's weird showing interracial couples and dating, but it's okay, especially when it's that one specific couple. Now, when you have someone who's like dating around, and a good way to show it is to show that they date all different races. Because I've seen movies where it's like there's a white man who's sleeping with multiple partners, and they've all been black women. There's a specific movie, I forgot what the movie name was, but it was wild, and I was like, why is this? Who thought of this, and why was this a thing? Because not only is it offensive, it's just downright stupid, you know?
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Caleb, what do you think? We're back on you, Caleb.
Back the light is back on me, and I think you had a good point, Million, where like it's not stressed enough with the interracial couples, and I think it's really not seen enough. It's not normalized still, although it is. You do see a lot of it. I mean, we're all from California here. I feel like you step out, you're gonna see some interracial couples now.
Mhm.
All the
I
time.
feel like you see a lot more than you would back in our parents' day. But I think in the movies, it's still not normalized because editors and people who write the movies are trying to make it somewhat like real and relate to real life. So that's why I think that they kind of keep that away just because of the
Mm.
thinking about planning the
Mm.
movie or the story or the short film, whatever it is. But I do think it needs to be shown more. Million spoke about a movie, like basically what I got from it was like an outright movie of just interracial couples. I I think that would be a good movie to show. I think it would be a good movie to watch.
Mhm.
I think if it was to come with a message and a purpose and a teaching, it would be a lot better. You know what I'm saying? I think
Mhm.
if 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 it was something that not only we 15 and 20 and 25-year-olds could learn from and older ages, I think it's something that the kids younger should be able to watch. Like, oh, I want to watch this movie, and it teaches them that it's okay to date different races at a young age, because I think you know, a lot of dating period is hidden from kids at a young age. Oh, girls have cooties and all this extra stuff. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you probably don't want to be in the fourth grade thinking about all the girls all the time. But it's at least okay to know that if whatever girl has cooties, it's okay. You know, you could date either color. It doesn't matter. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think a movie where kids can watch it and learn and understand that basically it's okay to date any color at a young age will change the way kids think. Because I mean, you talked about media, and I mean, media is what the kids see. The kids don't got no control. They can't go to the club and see an interracial couple. All they see is a
Mm-hmm.
picture on TV. So I think,
I love both points that you guys brought up because it indeed does answer the question, how do we change this? And Caleb and Million, you guys brought up really amazing points about how it's not about changing this, it's about closing that generational gap. And through movies, I think we actually do have a really good chance at doing this. There's something Caleb said which sparked this thought that I'm speaking about, which is about making it normal. Why don't we have films out there where the storyline still progresses, but the protagonist is a black man married to a Japanese lady, and they have a kid. There are some Blasian kids around, so you can get a Blasian kid to be there. Why don't we have a movie where an Asian man is married to I don't know, a Mexican lady, you know? And that's not the story. I think the problem with most movies is we make that the story. So it's no longer normal because we're doing a social commentary on it. But then if the story is a bank robbery and the protagonist is Sam, who's a Japanese man, and he's robbing this bank so that he can live a better life in the Himalayas with his girlfriend Laura, who's a Mexican lady. That would be a better story than a story about them going about their lives and everybody's commenting about them being an interracial couple. I think the problem is that we're placing too much emphasis on it. But then if we fuse it into the daily conversation where people see it and they're just like, okay, it becomes normal for them. Our kids will watch those movies and they will grow up thinking that is normal because it's not a conversation on film. They don't have to go up and ask their dad, hey, dad, I saw this and this and this. Is that normal? No, it's a normal for them. They've seen it in films. And I think we can fuse that into a lot of things from film to photography to music, where we stop making it a social commentary and start infusing it into our work, even subconsciously.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And to
Hollywood, if you're listening to this, I am a filmmaker and I'm about to change Hollywood, so give me a call.
yes, sir. Give my guy Mike a call. He's about to change the world. You feel me? Catch him in 5 movies.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
ladies
going-
and gentlemen.
I was gonna say real quick because I was jumbling my words a lot when I was talking. But what you said about we wanting to make it normal. What I was trying to say was that it's not stressed enough how normal it is.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to say. It's not stressed enough how normal it is.
That's very true.
I would agree with that. Just to piggyback right off of what you said, it is normal. I mean, and that is not stressed enough.
And I think that's a fine conclusion to our topic today. Interracial dating should be normalized. It shouldn't be a social anomaly. It shouldn't be something that we have to ask for permission to do. It should be something that is so infused in us. Love whoever you want to love because of who they are, not because of the color of their skin or because of what race they're from or because of whatever it is. Love them for who they are. Start with the person before you work on the outside. And I think that would be a better way to lead this world. I know there are people out there who are going to argue and say, but I want to keep my family tree black. I want to keep my family tree white. I want to keep my family tree Mexican. And that's okay. That's a valid point. But that should not be a basis for you to refuse or prevent any of your family members from branching out. They should still have the freedom to do so, and let them make their decision based on who they love. You can't control who people love, you know? At the end of the day, if they do end up loving someone who's from your race, kudos to you. But if they don't, let them be.
Right.
Fact.
Going back to what I said about how interrelational dating can be a bit of a fetishization. You love who you love, obviously. Love who you love, date who you date, but you also want to question why you want to date them and why you love them. And if you start to see a pattern, then if you start to see a pattern with who you're dating, then you should really sort of question it, because I don't think anyone should be dating one specific type of person ever. I think it's good to experiment with different people, but no one should ever be, dating just one specific type of person with one specific race or one specific personality and stuff like that.
Agreed. Facts. All facts right there. All jewels and gems for y'all.
Wow. I can't even add anything to that. That was just the perfect way to end this. Thank you for that. Look out for your patterns. Look out for what you're doing. Examine why you date who you're dating. Notice the patterns. If you're not looking for specific qualities like kindness or, smartness or whatever it is, make sure you're not looking for attributes that have been infused in your mind, in your subconscious, through fetishization in the media. I love that, Milion. Thank you so much for that. All right, listeners, we are approaching the inevitable end of this episode. We hope you had a lovely time with us. We definitely did have a fantastic time with my co-host, Caleb.
Yes.
Caleb, say your last goodbyes to the people.
Man, goodbye, y'all. I appreciate you guys listening to this, and y'all will catch us next episode.
And my other co-host, Milion.
Milion,
wave to the people.
Got double hand wave. I appreciate everyone who's listening. Thank you for listening. Obviously, it's really good to have you here, and it's really good to for you guys to sort of peer into our conversation. So thank you.
And I am your host, Michael. It's been lovely. It's been fun. It's been 100%. All right, folks, stay frosty.